The sky was choked with smoke, turning the early morning into a hazy twilight. The battlefield symphony was dominated by the staccato bursts of machine, gunfire. Every shot sent out ripples of sound that seemed to meld into a never-ending, soul-crushing cacophony. As Elijah settled behind one of the new mounted machine guns, the cold metal felt strangely intimate, like a lover's embrace. He glanced over at Corporal Jacobs, who was already absorbed in the task. His eyes narrowed in concentration, hands steady. The gun's mechanism seemed to extend from Jacobs' very being, turning man and machine into one. The other side of the trench was hidden by the smoky curtain, but Elijah didn't need to see. He aimed where the shadows moved the most, where the darkness seemed densest, and then he fired. The gun roared to life, jerking under his touch as it spewed deadly metal. Figures on the other side crumpled and fell, mere silhouettes in the murk. Their silhouettes in the murk. They had no faces, no names, just shapes being erased from existence. "You're getting the hang of it, Freeman," yelled Jacobs over the deafening noise. His own gun spat fire in short, controlled bursts, making every shot count. The thrill of power surged through Elijah. With every squeeze of the trigger, he felt invincible, cutting down the shadowy forms with clinical precision. But beneath that exhilaration, a cold realization began to seep in. These weren't just shadows. They were men with dreams, hopes, families. During a brief lull, as they awaited more ammunition, a young soldier, barely out of his teens, approached the machine guns, his face a mix of awe and terror. It's like reaping wheat," he stammered, his voice shaking. Elijah, still coming down from the adrenaline high, turned to him. "It's the future of warfare," he said, trying to sound confident. "Steel and smoke. No more swords or hand-to-hand battles. Just pull the trigger." "But it's so." "That's the point," Jacobs interjected, his voice hard. "We can't afford sentiment. Not if we want to survive this hell." Elijah nodded, but as he repositioned himself behind the machine gun, a chilling thought lingered. In the quest for efficiency and power, had they traded away their very humanity? The dawn broke with an unusual serenity. The familiar sounds of artillery and gunfire were conspicuously absent, but this silence, rather than comforting, felt ominous. The air was dense with anticipation, every soldier's breath visible in the crisp morning air. Across the field, a mysterious mist appeared. It wasn't like the morning fog they were used to. This was thicker, with an unnatural hue. Before anyone could comprehend what it was, the wind began to carry it their way. "Gas! Gas! Gas!" The warning cry echoed down the trenches. Men scrambled, fumbling for their gas masks. Those eerie, bug-eyed contraptions that transformed familiar faces into alien visages. Elijah hastily pulled his mask over his face, the rubbery smell enveloping him. Panic ensued for those who couldn't get their masks on in time. The mist was now upon them. And then the first coughs rang out. Innocuous at first, but they soon morphed into something far more sinister. The men began to choke, their lungs betraying them, filling with fluid. A soldier near Elijah, a young lad named Thomas, stumbled, his mask hanging uselessly around his neck. His eyes widened in horror as the gas reached him, skin turning a ghastly shade. He clawed at his throat, froth bubbling from his lips, his eyes bloodshot. The trenches reverberated with the haunting sounds of the agonized gasps of the dying. "Oh, God. Oh, God, no," murmured Jacobs, watching his comrades collapse around him, their bodies convulsing in tortured spasms. The true cruelty of this weapon was its indiscriminate nature. An ill wind blew some of the gas back to where it had originated, causing screams to rise from both sides of the battlefield. In this hellish moment, friend and foe were united in their suffering. Elijah felt the first sting of the gas, even through his mask. It seeped in through tiny cracks, making his eyes water and his throat burn. Panic surged within him. He could feel it, the invisible claws of the gas trying to pry the life out of him. Every breath became a laborious task. Collapsing against the trench wall, he could hear the distant voice of Jacobs. "Stay with me. Elijah, breathe. Damn it, breathe. Damn it, breathe." But the voice seemed to fade, drowned out by the overwhelming sensation of being trapped underwater, unable to reach the surface. In this world, where machines and technology were supposed to herald progress, the true cost of advancement was laid bare. It was a chilling reminder of humanity's capacity to forge tools, not just of progress, but of untold suffering. And in that trench, amidst the silent cries of the damned, Elijah confronted the darkest aspects of the modern age. The war's cacophony had become a constant backdrop. But amidst the chaos, a distinct sound emerged, the whirring and clanking of machinery. Soldiers, once defined by their physical prowess and martial skill, were now defined by the machinery they operated. The day after the gas attack, as the sun lazily climbed the horizon, Elijah found himself in the company's makeshift workshop. Rows of soldiers were busy, not tending to their wounds, but to their machines, cleaning gun barrels, calibrating sights, oiling gears. There was an intimate dance between man and machine, a sense of mutual dependence. Roberts, a lanky soldier from Elijah's regiment, was one such man. He sat cradling his machine gun, delicately cleaning each part. "She's a beauty, ain't she?" he remarked, looking up to see Elijah watching him. Elijah nodded. "Seems you care for it more than yourself." Roberts chuckled. "She keeps me alive. I owe her that much." He caressed the gun's barrel with a cloth, his touch almost tender. "You should treat yours the same. These machines, they're all we got out here." Walking further into the workshop, Elijah noticed Carter, once a jovial man, now seated silently, working on a tank's interior, his face smeared with grease. Gone was the camaraderie, the playful banter they once shared. The man-machine bond had become so profound that the lines were blurring. It was later that night, as Elijah sat polishing his rifle, that he felt it too, the seductive pull of the machine. The cold, unyielding steel began to feel more familiar, more comforting than the touch of another human. The weight of the weapon, its precision, its unwavering purpose. It was the only certainty in a world spiraling into chaos. "Elijah," a voice broke his trance. It was Jacobs, eyeing him with concern. "You've been at it for hours. Take a break, man." Elijah looked up, the gleaming barrel reflecting in his eyes. "It's all that stands between us and them," he murmured. "We've become extensions of them. Or they've become extensions of us. I can't tell anymore." Jacob sat beside him, a grim expression on his face. "We've become the very thing we wield. Cold, ruthless, mechanized." Elijah's fingers tightened around the rifle. "Do you think there's a way back, Jacobs? A way back to who we were before all this?" Jacobs sighed heavily, looking out into the darkness of the trenches. "I don't know, Elijah, but we must hold on to what's left of our humanity. That's the one thing these machines can't replace." As the night deepened, the two men sat side by side, surrounded by the cold embrace of steel, each lost in his own thoughts about the cost of this mechanical age and the fragment of humanity they clung to amidst the mechanized carnage.